All right, so we're now able to register, log in, and once we log in, we have our dashboard. However, if the user doesn't have a profile yet, they're going to get this button here to create one. So what I want to work on in this video is creating this route in this component, which will be a form to add a profile for this user. So let's jump into VS Code, and I think the first thing we're going to do here is create the component. So under components, I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm going to call this profile -form. So anything that has to do with a profile form, like the add experience, add education, create profile, edit profile. So I'm going to create a file called CreateProfile.js. All right, so let's put an arrow function here with some prop types. So RACFP using the ES7 React extension. And we're going to be using Redux, so let's import connect. So bring that in from React Redux. We're going to have some actions. Obviously, we need an action to create the profile, to interact with the server, get a response, all that stuff. But let's build the form and the component state first. Because since this is a form, each input should be a piece of state. So we're going to bring in from React the use state hook. Okay, it's going to be similar to what we did in the login and registration. I'm going to go right here and create, let's say, form data and set form data. There's going to be a lot of fields in this, if you remember all the profile fields we have, minus the experience and education. That's going to be in a separate component. So let's say, whoops, sorry about that, I just hit the mic. Let's say use state, and in here we want to put our default values and fields. So we're going to have company. We're going to have, actually, you know what? I'm just going to paste this in to save a little bit of time. We have company, website, location, status, skills, GitHub username, bio, and then we have all of our social media links here. Okay, so I want to destructure so we can just use these as variables. So let's say const, and I'm actually going to paste this in as well. So basically just all the fields we just created, we're going to pull those from form data. Now, as far as the form itself, let's go into our theme, and I'm going to go to the create-profile HTML, and I'm going to copy, let's see, what do we want here? This H1, so basically everything within the container section. So the H1 all the way down to the ending form tag we're going to grab. And let's just paste that inside this div right here. Now this div can be a fragment. We don't actually need it to be a div. So I'm going to replace this with fragment. Make sure you replace the bottom one. Mine will replace because I have the auto rename tag extension. But we need to bring in fragment as well. Okay, so let's see here. Let's change all the classes to class name. So just Control D to select all these classes here. It's quite a bit. If you want to do a search and replace, you could do that as well. Okay, so let's change those to class name. All right, so I just want to at least create the route so we can see this component in the UI. So what I'll do is go to app.js, and let's bring this in. So this is in what? Profile forms / create profile. Create profile, and then let's create a route. We want this to be a private route. So I'll copy this down, and it's going to be /create-profile, and component will be create profile. So let's save that, and let's try it out. Okay, so now we can see our form. Now I'd like to make it so so this down here, the social media input, I want that to be hidden by default, and then we click this to show it or toggle it. So let's handle that. So we're going to have another piece of state. So we'll go, where are we? Let's go to create profile, and I'm going to go right below where we did the form data state, and let's do brackets, and let's call this display social inputs, and then the method to update this part of the state, we'll call it toggle social inputs. Okay, we're going to use state, and the default is going to be false. Okay, this is going to be a Boolean value. And now what we'll do is go down to where we have that section. Let's see. So we have right here, so we have this add social network links. We have the button right here. That's what we want to actually toggle. So let's do this. Let's add to the button and on click. And let's do toggle social inputs, and we want it to be whatever the opposite of. If it's true, we want to set it to false, and vice versa. So we're just going to say not whatever not display social inputs is. So now these divs right here, I'm just going to go right above it, and I'm going to put in some brackets or curly braces, and I want to test for display social inputs. If that's true, then I'm going to show a fragment, and I'm going to have inside this fragment all of these divs with the social inputs, so all these form groups. So we'll grab down to here and cut that out and put that inside here. So that way these will only display if this display social inputs value is true. So let's save that, and let's go back. So notice that we can't see the links here, but if I say add social network links, it shows them, and I can toggle. Okay, so that's what I wanted. So let's see, for the inputs for the state, we're going to have to add to each input. Let's see, so we have, first thing we have here is the select group here for the status. So let's give this select right here a value of status, and then we're going to have an on change, and we just want to call on change like that and pass in our event parameter. Actually, this should be an event parameter right here, and all of our inputs are going to have this on change. So I think what we'll do is create that now, which is going to be the same as it was in the other forms. It's just going to basically, whatever is the value of the text field or select list in this case is going to be put in that part of the state of the form data. So I'll go right above the return, and let's do const on change, and let's do set form data. Okay, we want an object. We want the rest of the form data, and for this particular field we're going to get it by the name, so we're going to do e.target.name. We're going to use that as the key, and then the value e.target.value. Okay, so that'll change it in the state. So now we just have to do this for the rest of our inputs. So we'll go down to what's next, company. And you just want to make sure the names match whatever it's called in the state. And then we'll just add value, and we'll set that to company like that. And then we'll put the on change, which we're going to do the same thing. So just call on change and pass in our event. So we're going to do this for all fields. I'm just going to copy this and go to the next, which is website. So we just want to change this to website. Then we have our location. location, and we have, let's see, skills. GitHub username. And what's this? Bio, which is a text area. And then for the social stuff down here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to do value Twitter, value Facebook, YouTube. Oh, for some reason, it's not in my clipboard anymore. All right, so this will be YouTube. And then we have LinkedIn. And finally, we have Instagram. Okay, so we have all of our values and all of our on changes. I'm going to save, and you can see Prettier just formats it a little bit. So at least now we have our form. We should be able to type stuff in here. Okay, now in the next video, I want to create our action. That's going to happen when we submit this. So that's going to be called CreateProfile. So we're going to handle that. We need to handle the state afterwards. So we'll get into that next.